Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to say something that I haven't said in a very long time, but this PLE from WWE was very good, okay? You know what I'm saying? I really enjoyed Evolution. This was very good. We had a great opening. Well, not a great opening. We'll talk about that in a second, you know what I'm saying? But we had multiple good matches throughout this show. This card actually had 7 matches. When is the last time we've had a PLE with 7 matches on it that wasn't a Mania or a SummerSlam? You know what I'm saying? Or a Saudi pay-per-view. You get me? So this was really good to see this, man. I enjoyed it. They showcased so many of the great women's talents, and this should be an actual, well, before we talk about what I was going to say there, we do need to say, and I do need to say, because listen, I've been bashing Triple H for many months, basically calling him a garbage booker, saying he needs to be fired, things of that nature. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm going to have to apologize to absolutely nobody because Triple H sucks at his job and he is still a garbage booker. However, he did a good job with tonight's show, and I will admit that, okay? Tonight's show was very good. Obviously, we had multiple different showcases of the women's division. We had really good false finishes all night in basically every single match. There were some very creative spots. We saw the different showcasing of the talent in certain scenarios, right? Where you had the Battle Royal, which was a great showcase for the younger talent on NXT, some of the main roster people as well. You had a great main event that actually had a shocking ending with Naomi being your new World Heavyweight Champion rather than her cashing in on Tiffany to become the WWE Women's Champion. So they subverted expectations there. They did something very cool. I thought that was interesting. There are multiple things to break down, but there is not a lot that I had to complain about inside of this show. I will be honest. There were some things that really bothered me that I thought should have been a lot better, and one of them was just straight up stupid and just garbage. But however, a lot of this stuff was really good. I was entertained, and even though the bar has been dropped so low, the fact that this is easily the best PLE since SummerSlam, because again, nothing has happened since SummerSlam good on PLEs. You get what I'm saying? Like, just think about how bad Raw and SmackDown have been this year. I always have to shut off Raw and SmackDown at least an hour early because of how boring and nauseating it is to watch those shows. And the PLEs are normally very garbage, but this was actual good content, and this is what we need more of. Like Big E said in the post show, whatever it was, he did say something that caught my eye. He basically brought up the fact, he's like, he said sometimes in wrestling you want to just stop watching the show. It's just not entertaining, and it really loses, you lose your joy and your passion for it. But it's shows like this that kind of reel you back in and remind you of why you really like professional wrestling. And I was like, you know what? After seeing AEW All In, yeah, there were some matches that I thought were garbage and I wasn't interested in, but a lot of those matches, like the main event with Hangman, I like the match with Swerve and what's called an Ospreay versus the Young Bucks. That match was absolutely awesome. Kenny Omega's match was great. Things like that, and obviously Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné, those matches were great, and it reminds you, wow, professional wrestling can be awesome. And then tonight we saw what we saw, and I was like, man, professional wrestling can be awesome. This should be an indicator that Triple H needs to start using his younger talent and push his stars. I've been complaining about how Triple H builds no stars because the fact is they are available to be made into stars. We saw people like Sol Ruka tonight, Jada Parker tonight, Stephanie Vaquer tonight, and the list goes on and on of young, good women's talent. All of these people, you can actually develop them and make them into stars or superstars. They have the in-ring part already down. Now, can they build their promos and their story and their character? Once they do that, they're going to be super over and be superstars. The crowd was electric all night. They were popping for basically every woman that came out except for Candice LeRae and B-Fab. Sorry to call them out, but man, we had to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. This was great, and I just have to be honest about it, man. As much as we bash it, we got to be honest. So that's that. Now, with that being said, I didn't finish what I was going to say. You know what I'm saying? I still got more stuff to say. The Triple H should actually get the memo. The gamer, the fiend. You need to push your actual younger talent and make them into superstars or make them into stars. There's no reason why the women's PLE has been this good, just the woman only, but nothing in the men's division has been good at all on PLEs in a very long time. That lets you know not only how talented your women's division is, but how awful Triple H is booking the men's stars. From top to bottom, you see the stuff that's happening with LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, Montez Ford, and the Street Profits. The list goes on and on. Even CM Punk to an extent. He's won nothing since coming back. So and Randy Orton as well with the stuff he's doing with Jelly Roll, Logan Paul. The list goes on and on. You get the point, okay? So it's just a simple fact of it. Triple H needs to take notes and build new stars. Give us something fresh and see how the crowd responds. They may end up liking it in the long run, like we all, or at least probably most of us really like this show tonight. So there you have it. Now, let's get into the review for Evolution. Evolution. We started off with Stephanie, I was going to say Stephanie Valkyrie. Stephanie McMahon came out and basically introduced the show with Joe Tessitore. And Stephanie McMahon, I was thinking this whole time, I'm like, yo, Joe Tessitore, why don't you ask her about what she thinks about her husband's job she's been doing as a booker? You know what I'm saying? So that's that. And because I'm so burnt out from watching all this wrestling content this weekend, be prepared for there to be somewhat minimal editing in this video because your boy is absolutely gassed. However, we do have to discuss the fact that this, Becky Lynch, Bayley, and, Lyra Valkyria match, just want to say before I talk about it, the storyline leading into this match is garbage. We all saw when Bayley and Lyra's shoulders were both down, so they both got counted for the pin. Again, why are you even counting if both of their shoulders are down? What in the world? These promos that they've had as well leading into it from all three of them have been absolutely garbage. And that's shocking considering that Becky Lynch is a great mic worker and how bad the promos were leading up to this. So this match has a lot of added issues that made me not care about it, and that it's made the overall experience of it not good, but we'll talk about that even more. Then we basically move on. We get the first official match. Becky Lynch versus Lyra versus Becky for the IC title. I'm not a huge fan of this match, but I can concede the fact that this match was very solid, okay? This was not a good match, but it wasn't bad. It's above average. The problem with this match is that we've seen the same collection of Lyra and Becky and, what I'm saying, and Bayley for so long now, for the last, month or two, that things have kind of got, or I see, 2 months now, 2 or 3 months nearly, that is kind of getting very repetitive. This match, the moves are repetitive. You had 40 or 50 roll-ups in this match, 30 or 50 different pins, you know what I'm saying? It got very repetitive and kind of boring at points, and you had already seen the moves in the spot, so it kind of lost its luster a little bit. However, it was solid, it was mildly entertaining, and Becky Lynch ended up winning in a creative roll-up. I don't like the 50-50 booking where no one can just win using a finisher. However, the ending of this match, the way Becky did the roll-up, I thought was well executed. So there was decent in-ring psychology, good technical wrestling a little bit, and some of the moves that were displayed specifically from Lyra Valkyria and Bayley, who I think did most of the heavy lifting in this match in ring-wise, in my opinion. They did a good job here. Definitely one of Bayley's better matches over the last year, in my opinion. So this was solid. Becky Lynch retaining. I'm not mad at that decision. I just hope we can finally move on from this and give Becky a new challenger. After all of the women's talent we saw tonight, I better see a battle royal on Raw or SmackDown to decide who's going to challenge for this IC belt next. And Sol Ruka or Jada Parker or someone else better be getting that shot, because there's so many talented women on this roster. You got to start giving out shots to people, bro. We got to move on with this. We need to stop seeing the same people in the mid-card. We got to start bringing in new faces. So that's my idea with that. We then move on and we got what I think is the worst part of the night, which was, what's it called? Oh, no, sorry, actually, before we got that, we got, excuse me, Vicky Guerrero came back. So seeing Vicky Guerrero out there was great. Mark Henry was in the crowd as well, so that was pretty fun to see as well. The childhood favorites pulling back up for the show. Thought that was cool. Then we got Jordynne Grace versus JC Jane. This match was surprisingly decent, kind of average level. This wasn't anything good. It was a pretty decent match, though. The only issue with this match is really the ending. I don't know why they had Blake Monroe, aka, Mariah May, whatever the heck you want to call her at this point. She basically, obviously debuted in ring yesterday at the American Bash, and then basically after this match ended, or near the end of this match, she hits Jordynne Grace with the title belt to help JC Jane get the W, and I don't understand this. You know what I'm saying? I guess they have to turn her heel to give her some, instant gravitas or impact, you know what I'm saying? Give her some heat or something, make her character more intriguing, which I understand that, but pulling that trigger in this match when not many people probably know about the story of what's happening with this, heck, I don't even know what's really fully going on with the Fatal Influence or whatever. Are they called Toxic Attraction or Fatal Influence? I don't even, does anyone know? Can someone correct me in the comments? What are they actually called? I don't know. It's Jasmine Nix and Fallon Henley and then JC Jane. So they're out there basically, and that's the situation with that. Jordynne Grace ends up getting pinned by JC Jane due to the interference from Blake Monroe, and now Blake Monroe has officially turned heel, and there you have that. So we'll see what happens with Blake Monroe. A feud with her and Jordynne Grace. Now after seeing how talented everyone is, I mean, we already knew they were talented. I've been saying this for months, obviously, but the fact is, now that Blake Monroe is a heel and we know how talented that she was in AEW, her amazing feud with Toni Storm, now she's coming over here to work with Jordynne Grace. This could potentially be a good feud with some good matches, so we'll see what happens with this, but JC Jane retains the NXT Championship. Now we move on to the Fatal 4-Way Tag match, okay? This was my second most anticipated or first most anticipated match on the entire show. I like, obviously, Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. They're two of my favorite women's wrestlers in the entire company. Sol Ruka's one of my favorite wrestlers in the company, and obviously you had Raquel and Roxanne, which I don't really care for them, quite frankly, and the Kabuki Warriors, which they're decent, I guess. Kairi Sane needs to stop botching everything, but it is what it is. This match was kind of underwhelming, but however, the energy inside of this match was incredible. Seeing Charlotte get respected by the crowd, I respect you. I love you. I need you. You know what I'm saying? And shout out Rhea Ripley as well later in her match, literally saying word for word, like a quarter way through the match, going up to Io Sky and saying, I respect you, Io. You know what I'm saying? So that was that. But this match right here was pretty hype, man. A lot of energy. Charlotte was getting massive pops throughout. The crowd was chanting for her, which means that, you know, at least this crowd, maybe this crowd was, you know, a little partial towards her. But this crowd obviously were big fans of Charlotte. Sorry, Alexa Bliss got a great pop. Everyone was getting reactions. Sol Ruca hit a great soul snatcher on Charlotte. You had a moment where Charlotte saved Alexa Bliss from getting speared by Zarya, you know what I'm saying? So that was a nice little spot. There are multiple little story elements here and there and good in-ring work throughout, and there were no real egregious botches in this match, which is honestly shocking because Raquel, Roxanne, and Kairi Sane be botching a good bit. So yeah, so to see no botches, that was pretty cool. The ending was very anticlimactic as Raquel Rodriguez literally just power bombed. I think it was Sol Ruca after Sol Ruca got speared, and that was literally it. Like the match just ended, and that was it. So anticlimactic ending, but the in-ring work, seeing this different display of talent and array of tag teams, I thought was pretty entertaining. Now, I will say this, it does seem to me that it's very evident, obviously, right? All of these different tag teams clearly are going to win a tag team championship if they stay together at some point. I mean, the champions already have it. Obviously, the Kabuki Warriors, I think they already had a run as well. Now it's just up to when Charlotte and Alexa will win, or when Sol Ruca will come to the main roster and win any type of gold. So we'll see with that. I enjoyed this, but the ending I thought was pretty bad and underwhelming. Then we move on from this. We got Tiffany Stratton versus Trish Stratus. You guys know that I'm officially basically checked out on Tiffany Stratton. I'm done with her. I don't want to see her as champion anymore, and I'm really hoping that because Naomi is now world champ, so they've moved on from the Jade and Naomi stuff, at least for now, hopefully Jade can finally get that WWE Women's Championship at SummerSlam, because, listen, Jade Cargill is still developing, obviously, but what she did tonight, that match she had with Naomi, we're going to talk about it in a second, that match was actually very good. Probably her best match, or one of her best matches since she's come to WWE, and we have to remember that at WrestleMania, one of the better matches at Mania 41, which was garbage, one of the better matches at Mania 41 was simply the match of what's called Jade and Naomi. That was a pretty solid to even good match at times. So, you know, that's my opinion on that. But anyways, Tiffany Stratton, I'm done. She's boring. She's annoying. She's not a good champion. She doesn't cut good promos, and she doesn't know how to tell stories or build feuds. And her in-ring work rate is solid at times, definitely can be good at times, but it can also be very bad and very, what I'm saying, botchy. And because of that, we have to figure out ways to kind of not move away from her completely, but she needs to get out of the main event scene at least for a few months and try to find out, how to get better, because I don't care how many pops you get. I don't care how many people are yelling your name. That doesn't matter to me at all. How entertaining are you to me? And Tiffany Stratton, the answer is basically zero. Obviously, I'm still haven't moved on from the fact of her openly just disrespecting Charlotte in that in-ring promo back in Chicago earlier this year in the build to Mania 41. Things like that. There's just something that doesn't sit right with me and Tiffany Stratton, okay? I don't know how else to say it, all right? I'm not a big fan of what she's doing, okay? So that's that. But the match itself was decent. We obviously knew Tiffany Stratton was going to win, so there's nothing really to talk about here. Trish Stratus looked pretty solid here. She did multiple good moves. She looked pretty spry out there. She looked better than most of the roster, honestly, which is crazy. But she did a good job inside of this match. And, pretty much Tiffany Stratton hit her moonsault and won the match. That's pretty much it. She kicked out of a Stratus faction, so it was cool to see that move hit. This is a nice little nostalgia tour match. Little fun match. Nothing really crazy about it. But again, because I don't give a crap about Tiffany Stratton in this title reign, it's basically time to move on. This may have been Trish Stratus's last match. I do think she will get one more match probably, and it'll be her official last one, and they'll market around it on a future pay-per-view probably in Canada, or if they do another Evolution, which I would 100% be down for, she'll probably get her last match then. We then move on to Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Another, I don't think this is a match of the night candidate, but this is one of the better matches tonight for sure. This was a good match. Very entertaining. I thought Jade Cargill showed a ton of charisma in this match, you know what I'm saying? Just a lot of bragging, being arrogant, really playing into that character. For one of the first times, I feel like, since she's come to WWE, she felt very confident in this match. The crowd was behind her. They loved her out there. She did good in-ring work. She was using the camera and beating up Naomi with it. There was a part where she smacked into the announce table, and like the one of the monitors broke, and like smoke was coming out of it. The electricity ran out, so that was kind of cool. And then obviously you had the big spot where she hit the Jaded through the table. Like this, Naomi and Jade be putting on some bangers, bro. We got to start opening up dialogues on Jade Cargill low-key. Her potential is honestly limitless. As soon as she learns how to actually cut promos unlike a robot, you know what I'm saying, and learns how to tell stories and cut promos, she's probably going to become the one of, if not the best women's wrestler in the entire company. Because physically, she has the look and the appeal, obviously, and then once we get into the in-ring work, once she polishes up on that, learns how to cut promos and tell stories, she's instantly going to be a perennial main eventer every year. It's as simple as that. So, I mean, you know, she just has a little bit of things to grow on, but she did a great job in this match. Naomi was good here. Bianca didn't really do much as ref because it was a no DQ, so that was that. But I had fun with this. This is entertaining, and I like both of these characters in here, and they both did a good job, her and Naomi. So Jade ended up getting the W, obviously, to keep her looking strong before SummerSlam. And then we had arguably the match of the night, which was the Battle Royal. Well, the main event was probably better than this, but the Battle Royal was really good. I like this Battle Royal for multiple different reasons. Number one, you get to see people from past and present. Like, you had Nikki Bella in there, which was cool to see. You had Natalya in there, obviously. You had some of the younger talents in there, like Maxine Dupree was showing up. You had some of the NXT people, like your Jada Parkers, Kalani Jordan, you know, Tatum Paxley. And then you had your, your usual main roster people in there, like your Ivy Nile, Stephanie Vaquer was in there, which was great. Nia Jax was in there. This is a perfect blend of young, mid-level, age, and then obviously older level talents from the old school. This is a great blend to see all these talents in the ring. They were doing all their emotes, like Nikki Bella doing the twirl with Lola Vice, and then Nia Jax doing it. Lash Legend is awesome, man. She's got a great physical build. She looks imposing. She's very believable in her role. This was just a really great showcase of the women's division. Chelsea Green doing her usual antics that normally are very boring and annoying to me and repetitive, but in this scenario, they work. Why? Because that's what Chelsea Green's character is. She's meant to do little funny comedic bits, and she'll be at least remembered for something. So I like this match from top to bottom. And obviously, Stephanie Vaquer got the W. I think we all knew this was going to happen, but she ended up getting the win. And now Stephanie Vaquer will challenge Naomi for the World Heavyweight Championship at Clash in Paris. So there you have that. I enjoy this, man. What was there? There's not really much to say that you didn't like about this match. Everyone got their little moment to shine. Everyone was doing their charismatic emotes. There was so much charisma shown in this match. The in-ring work rate was pretty solid. And obviously the ending had the rightful winner. And Stephanie Vaquer afterwards cut a promo basically saying how you will remember the name. You will remember La Primera Stephanie Vaquer. You know what I mean? So that was basically the situation with that. I enjoyed this match. Rightful winner, good booked, and good booking, obviously, and good in-ring work rate. Not much to complain about here. This was pretty fun. And then obviously Kalani Jordan as well. We got to give her a shout out for the little save she did, like that Kofi Kingston-esque save. She can see, this is what I'm saying. How can you have this many people just chilling at NXT? You know what I'm saying? Or just chilling in catering, for example. You got to use these people, bruh. Get these people on the main roster ASAP, man. You're going to need it. Now, we get to the main event, which was Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky. Now, normally, as per usual, we all probably expected for Rhea Ripley to win this match. You know what I'm saying? And take back a title that you never lost, yeah? And obviously, we expected, this match to take back my title that you never lost, yeah? And take back my title that never lost, yeah? And take back my title that never lost, yeah? So that's what we expected this match to be like with Rhea Ripley. However, this match ended up just being a very, very good match, a great match between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Very good in-ring work. I thought that their first 1v1 they had earlier this year when Io won the belt initially, I thought it was kind of patchy and botchy, but their chemistry has clearly grown since then, especially after that masterclass that her, Bianca, and Rhea put on at WrestleMania 41 this year. Okay, they've clearly grown in chemistry, and this match was quite entertaining. They brawled out into the stands in the crowd. Io did a big cross body from like the top of like some scaffolding or like equipment in the crowd. That was really good. They really did go to war. You saw multiple finishers. I don't think Io ever hit her finisher though, but Rhea hit her finishers. The ref got bumped down. There was just a bunch of shenanigans, really good in-ring work rate, multiple really good false finishes. Now, obviously, I didn't believe anything of them because I obviously believed Rhea was going to win, so anytime she was the one getting pinned, I knew she was going to kick out. But the false finishes and the drama with it were pretty solid, and the crowd was super enthused this entire matchup, man. So this is a really, really good main event, and obviously it ends with the shock factor of Naomi coming out, hitting Io Sky with the briefcase, cashing in officially, hitting Io Sky with the briefcase, then after throwing Rhea Ripley into the post, and then she fell out of the ring, and then pinning Io because obviously Triple H can't let Rhea get pinned ever. However, you know what I'm saying? The situation is that Naomi basically cashed in and pinned Io Sky after hitting her, split-legged moonsault, and she pinned her, and that was it. And normally I would say, well, maybe Jade Cargill should have interrupted and stuff like that, which there probably is some truth to that. She probably should have came out to interrupt if she really had a blood hatred for Naomi. But Jade Cargill is focused on another championship, to be fair. And obviously, they wanted Naomi to have her moment and make a big moment for the show, so they kind of just bypassed that. There is a little bit of a gap in logic there, which I kind of don't understand. It makes no sense to me. Jade probably should have came out to interrupt her. Even if Jade is going for another title, that doesn't mean she shouldn't just interrupt Naomi. So there's some ticky-tack stuff with that, kind of, inconsistent and bad booking, Bear, but we're going to have moments of bad booking on every show. It's Triple H. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be honest with ourselves. But this match was booked great. Shockingly good finish, because if Io Sky, because her reign was obviously wasted. That's one thing I don't like about this situation, right? Io Sky had a championship reign that they listed the graphic. She's been champ for 132 days, or she was, and this is her third title defense. She had done nothing as champion just to lose the belt tonight. And you knew going in she was either going to lose it to Rhea, or shockingly, maybe some of you predicted Naomi was going to cash in, right? But the bottom line is Triple H booked Io Sky's reign absolutely horrendously. So one day, maybe within the next year, Io should get another world title reign or a mid-card belt reign or something, and it should be treated with more care and respect and love and gratitude for Io being one of the best women's wrestlers in ring on the planet. So Io Sky deserves better, but if she's not going to lose to Rhea Ripley, which honestly, if she was going to lose, I thought it was going to be to Rhea, and that would have been unacceptable. I would have came on here and my rant would have been, probably 15 times worse than this, because this is not worse at all. I enjoyed the show, obviously, but this is the thing. If Rhea would have won the title back again, it would have been unacceptable. So the fact that Io lost in this way, where you're giving it to someone completely new and unexpected and shocking and cashing in on Naomi's current character gimmick, which has actually been really good over the last few months on SmackDown, I think this works, and I enjoyed this. This show totality, I'm looking through, I had maybe like 2 or 3 big gripes here and there, mainly with the Jordynne Grace versus JC Jane match and the opening Intercontinental title triple threat, and that just being overrated. There were some moments where the crowd was clearly overblowing things, like saying like, this is awesome and this is wrestling. Like, we're clearly overdoing it in certain spots, but they were excited. They're cheering on the woman that they support and that they love, that they care for, so I can't get really too mad at it. You get what I'm saying? But the point is, this show was really good. I was entertained for 80% of this show, I would say, maybe 70 to 80% of this show, and therefore I would give this show between a 7 or 8 out of 10, probably an 8. I'll be nice. I'm going to give you 8 out of 10. This was a good, or even you can make the case that this was potentially a great show. And the shocking thing is, there were no story to any of these matches. None of these matches really had a story when you think about it. The Rhea and Io match had somewhat of a story because Rhea has never beaten Io, so they played on that. The Tiffany versus Trish Stratus thing was kind of thrown on the fly. It's old school versus new school. Jade and Naomi had a story, I'll give you that. Obviously, Battle Royals though aren't meant to have stories, so that's that. And then obviously the other stuff doesn't really have a story as well. The whole Triple Threat Intercontinental Championship storyline is just garbage. I've already talked about that earlier. It is what it is. But the fact is, these matches that actually had somewhat of a story, like the Rhea and Io thing and the Jade and Naomi, those 2 matches were really good, right? But even the other ones that don't have stories, they were at least really good in ring and had little moments inside of the match to keep you intrigued and engaged as to what's happening. So I thought from top to bottom, this was a very solid show. It was very good, man. I really enjoyed it. It is my favorite, and I think the only good PLE that WWE has done since SummerSlam of 2024. And so with that being said, I am content. I am positive. I feel good, and hopefully tomorrow night, LA Knight can win that gauntlet match to challenge for that world title at SummerSlam. Yeah, and hopefully we get some, maybe some positive news on Seth Rollins. Hopefully things aren't as bad as we think they are with his knee. So we'll see what happens with Raw tomorrow night. I feel good tonight, though. This is a really big content weekend. A lot of content from wrestling just coming out, man. A lot of stuff happening, but I enjoyed it, and I thank you guys for being there every step of the way on this ride that C-Jax is taking you on. Thank you guys for watching. Have a phenomenal day. Peace out and one love.